Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to my podcast. Today's guest is Nikos Zisis. We talked a lot about his career outside of Greece. He is one of the few Greek players that built his career outside in 5 different countries throughout his whole career before he finished his career in Greece again. We talked about the transition to different roles from playing a lot in Treviso to going to CSKA and adjusting to a smaller role. So the challenges that came with that. We talked about his value system, the virtues and values that he holds, where that comes from. Actually, it was more simpler than I thought. The habits and routines from him that he goes through each day, each game day. That was very interesting to listen to what he goes through and what he tries to do day in, day out. Also, we talked obviously about retirement. And before he retired, he also did a lot of mentorship as a veteran to young players. And we talked actually right in the beginning about what he sees in young players that was not the same when he was playing, but also having the presence of mind to understand that it is a different generation, it is a different world, so we all have to adjust. Please enjoy this episode. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as the podcast on all podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, yada, yada, yada. So if you're enjoying what you listen to, please leave a comment, like it, share it, and see you on the next one. Enjoy. Action. Nikos, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Yes.
It's
Thanks for having me. Hello.
Yeah, everybody I talk to, is in high opinion of you. So we will talk a lot about your professionalism, about your values, your virtues, because I'm very curious about where it comes from, where it originates from, and how other players, younger generation, can take an example from it. Because everybody is just, I think that anything you will do after your career finishes, you will be successful. Just a matter of choosing. But we will get to this. Before we get to that, today is October 5th as we're recording it. I want to know, how did you survive without Instagram for 6 hours?
Okay. I have Instagram, but also I have Twitter. And I'm one of those that I like more Twitter than Instagram. I don't use Instagram that much. So last night was a fun night for all Twitter friends, all the guys that prefer Twitter. But yeah, it's incredible how our society is now depending on this, and how different was this 6-7 hours. It's incredible.
Big time. And I'm sure you saw also all the memes this morning about how Twitter buried Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp.
Yes.
The whole basketball world on WhatsApp, I think, was distorted for 6 hours, and everybody had to find new ways of communicating. I joined Viber for an hour. I think I will delete it again, but you have to be innovative now.
Yes, I heard also a lot of people, they were saying that they fell asleep, at least in Europe, that it was all this happened evening and in the night in Europe, and a lot of people fell asleep very early because they had nothing to do. Yeah. And that's, it's one of the things you understand, that, life is not only social media, but unfortunately for many people is, or it's the major part of their life.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I think that we realize that we are maybe too connected socially with too many things, with too much information, and then at the end, when it's all gone, you all of a sudden you feel like this emptiness coming over you, And actually, let's start with that topic, because I wanted to get to that later, but because we're there, I have my coffee on the left, my notes on the right, and you in front of me, and we will start with social media. So my question to you is, in terms of mentorship throughout your career, how many times did you encounter the next generation using their phone too much, using being on social media too much, and how did you try to? I'm sure you encountered it, but how did you try to make them understand that there's a line where you are distracting yourself from the main thing. You know, they're not keeping the main thing the main thing. It's more about social media in a lot of instances than it is about getting better.
Yes, that's very correct what you're saying. Yeah, the last years of my career, it was one of the main topics that I was talking with my younger teammates. In my opinion, balance is the key. We have to understand that we live now. It's 2021. Is in our life and in also athletes' life. But all the young guys and young generations need to understand that a professional basketball athlete, the main thing he needs to have on his mind is basketball, and everything needs to be around this and how to get better, how to live a proper life of professional basketball player, how to eat, how to rest, and how to find the right way to get better each and every day. Of course, social media is one of the things, as I said, that it's in our life, and also young athletes want to be a lot connected with this, and they want to post every single hour something or their own personal achievement. But okay, this can any guy can be different. Let's say some people that they have successes, they want to share it more, some people less. But the main thing that is that every young guy needs to understand that they have they are very blessed and very lucky with the opportunity to have a very good or a great career, and these are days and years that they are not coming back, and they need to have all their personal focus, and all their life needs to be around how to get better and how to do the things to give themselves the opportunity to have a great career.
Yeah, and it's like you said, like it's 2021, and we're the same age. We're both born in '83, but
Right.
we don't want to sound like the old grandpa talking there, like oh, we
Yes.
didn't have the. So you're absolutely right, and I agree that it's 2021, and we have to also understand that there's a different dynamic there in place, especially because there's also in the long term for them for social media use, there's also a opportunity to make money through social media, through gaining more followers. So it's also a revenue,
Right.
a source of extra income in the future. So there's a balance of that, and
Right.
there's something in their mind as well. But you were, what people tell me also, you were mature at an early age, and
Yes.
during our time there was no social media. It was just the internet was just starting to grow, and when like late 2000s, when you started your professional career. What made you, like, who helped you to find this early maturity, or did you just growing up, did you just discover it yourself because you have a strong value system, you have a strong belief system? Where does it originate from, and how did it help you throughout your career?
Honestly, Benas, I think that I had it uh, inside myself. It was something natural to me. I was never even playing, as a young kid here in Thessaloniki, that I currently live. When I start playing basketball, everybody's telling me, from my father, my coaches, my teammates, that I get to see them even now, 20, 25 years later, that when I was stepping on the court, I was always taking it very seriously. And as I said, it was um, honestly, I cannot explain this, how it came from a very young age. I was just, when I was stepping on the court, I was having fun, but I was taking it very seriously. I was trying the maximum I could do. Then, when also a big thing, in my opinion, is when I became professional, and my first professional coach was the late Duda Ivkovic.
Hmm.
And that he passed away some days ago. And now I have the chance even publicly to tell him and to say how important was for me to have him as a coach. Imagine I was 17, Benas, and that was an incredible lesson for me, that I was still a teenager, that I went in Athens, and I really taught a lot from him, also from my teammates at the time, but his figure, his personality, and that you need to be 100% focused and 100% to give the effort every single day, not only when you feel good, not only when you have a game day. I think that was very important to shape my character and generally my personality as a professional, how the thing is working here, that it's a high pressure environment. You need to, be able to perform. You need to be able to perform for your team in a daily basis, every 2-3 days that there are games. But I taught very well from him what means to be a man that he's working very hard to do the things the right way. And when you function like this in a daily basis, I think good things can happen.
Yeah, it set you on the right path early on. I think for every young player to have this professional and high performing environment with also the coach, but also as well as the players around you,
yes,
to
exactly.
to guide you and to put you into the right direction. But it starts with the head coach, and it starts with like a straight line and clear guidelines for the career.
And to complete my thought, that at the time, Ike, that was my first team. It was a team with a big tradition and a very good budget, and team with high goals. My very first year, we were in the top 4 teams of Euroleague. If you remember, Ben, it was at the time that was Euroleague and Super League that year. Was the 2 separated European championships, but also was giving the chance to young guys. And that was also something very important for me, that in my opinion, I was in the right spot because I had a great coach, a great coaching staff, very organized team, good veterans, but also many young guys. That one of them was Yannis Bourousis, also Christos Tapoutos, a guy that he also had a very good career. Not as famous in European stand, but he was an excellent talent. So I was the right team, in my opinion, because was giving the chance to many young guys to develop both their personality and their skills. And really, it was great for us.
Yeah, this was exactly the time, 2000 through 2005, as I see that I was in the States. So I didn't follow European basketball as much, but from your tellings and from my experience later on, when we faced Duda, he always gave a chance to young players. Yes. At Olympiacos also, you could see when it was Papanikolaou, Manzares, all those young players coming up, they received a chance, and they had opportunity even on a big stage in the Final Four, to have the confidence to play them, which shows also gives the guys the chance to grow.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. My experience with Coach Duda was that was seeing a young guy with work ethic, and also as a person that he didn't like so cocky guys. That was my experience with him. He wanted humility. He wanted guys with the understanding of their talent, the opportunity they had. And also it was, in my opinion, in his head, it was that it was great for his team that I have my veterans, but you always need some new blood. You only, you cannot have a team with 10 veterans. It's impossible, but you cannot also have a team with 10 young guys, because it's going to be overwhelming for them. So I believe that he wasn't afraid to take the chance on them. And as I said, even because it's a process how to put a young guy into a big team, and especially in EuroLeague in this high level. You will take a lot of lessons until you become a player. Let's put it this way. It's a long process, and as I said, in a daily basis, from practices, from maybe games in domestic leagues that they are not as difficult as EuroLeague games. But Coach Duda was one of them that he was believing in this process. And as I said, when he was watching young players to try hard every day, he was always giving them a chance, always.
And again, as you said, like as you said earlier about social media, now also about roster buildup, it's more about balance than about having one concrete idea. It's about balance between the two, but between old and young in this case. But to get back onto the career track after Ajax, you were one of the few players from your generation, or maybe the only one that sticks out, that built your career outside of Greece. So like you went to Italy, you went to Russia at CSKA, then you back to Italy, Spain, Russia again in Kazan, then Fenerbahce, Bamberg four seasons, I believe, right? 4 or 5, 4 seasons,
right?
And then Badalona. So you were building your career outside of Greece. I was wondering, where did this how did you go about making this decision, and what was the main reason for choosing this path?
I will tell you, Ben, now that everything is said and done, and it's very nice talking about this. And actually, like many times in life, everything started by accident. So at the time, 2005, I just finished my 5th year in Ajax, and it was my best year. I was already grown. I want to say better. I grown a lot as a player. I had a very good EuroLeague season. The team, first of all, had a great season. We went in the finals with Panathinaikos. We almost reached the top 8 of EuroLeague with a young Ajax team at the time. But I was feeling great there. And the only thing on my mind was to stay at home. That was my home for me, even that I come from Thessaloniki. But after 5 years in Athens, I was feeling great. I was already a member of Greek national team, and I just wanted to stay. But financial problems started in Ajax. Financial problems started, and then owner Mr. Philippou, at the time, me and my agent, we understand that probably it's time that I have to go, because I didn't have a buyout. I had a guaranteed contract for the following year, but the financial problems of the club and the interest of many European teams, you could tell that most likely I will be sold in one of the teams. So the will of Mr. Philippou, the owner of Ajax, is that I don't want to sell you in Olympiacos or Panathinaikos. You are one of my favorite players. I would wish to be here forever, but I cannot give you Olympiacos or Panathinaikos. So you need to choose. And I remember I was feeling very bad, but understanding that I was about to go. I was in the preseason with the national team, the summer when we won the European Championship, 2005. And talking to my agent, I understand that I have to make a decision. It was about July. And then it was Dynamo Moscow. That was again Duda, Ivkovic as a coach. Benetton Treviso. So these were the two options that I had. And for some reason, I chose Benetton because my main concern in Russia, it was cold. Really, I remember very well. It's funny that 2 years after, finally I ended up playing 4 years in Russia almost. But that summer, because Dusan Ivkovic, I talked about him some minutes ago, that I was feeling great to play for him, but something was stopping me about Dynamo and about just living in Russia. So, I didn't know, actually. I know very little things about European basketball at the time, only the EuroLeague teams. Okay, Benetton was a EuroLeague team, of course. And it was the change of Ettore Messina, and David Blatt took over that year. So, and it was a big shape of a change of the roster, and a lot of changes happened that summer. So I made up my mind, and I didn't like that. Then I said, you know what, that was the best decision of my life. But as I said, in my head, I would never want to leave Greece. It's funny. because a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you are different as a Greek. You know, all the Greek players want to stay in Greece and drink their favorite coffee and all this." But no,
Nescafe.
yes, Nescafe and Fredo now. That okay, Nescafe was before. But anyway, really, it was a great journey for me, and it started this way. And actually, when we won the European Championship in Belgrade in end of September, 2 days later, when I went Treviso, it was shocking for me, man. It was I couldn't believe that after living in Athens with my people, my friends, that I had to go in a small village in Treviso, and I think all this saved my character too. This path that life brought me, and I understood that, but everything was because I was in love with basketball. So I had difficulties like all of us, and it was hard at times, especially remember my first year, my days off was very difficult because I was homesick. I wanted to be in Athens with my friend, especially the days off. Every day I was giving 100%, with my team, and we had a great team, and we ended up winning the Italian league and doing great. At the time, even now, it's a very tough league, but at the time was a very good league, and I played with Andrea Bargnani, who was the number one draft, and Drew Nicolas and Ramona Siskowska and Matteo Soragna, Marco Mortende. So we had a great team, and it was great for me. But overall, how it happened, it took at least 1 year to feel more comfortable of not being in Greece. It really took at least 1 year.
That's one thing I was wondering as well. You went from culture to culture, basically experiencing different spectrum. I call it spectrum of people, because through my experiences, I left Lithuania at the age of 5, but I left Germany at the age of 17, and from that point on, my spectrum of people grew. Like I saw so many, a big variety of different personalities, different cultures, different attitudes, different ways of speaking, understanding. And this helped me tremendously now in my job also to adjust, to adapt, to figure out, to read between the lines and see what the person actually means, when they say a certain thing. So I'm wondering also, Kyle Heinz talked about it as well. How much did you have to completely forget of what was before in Athens and just absorb yourself in the culture? Because Kyle also talked about it when he was on, about coming from the US is even different. You're going yes. Like from the US yes. to Europe, and a completely different continent with completely different mindset everywhere. And everything is congested. And he went into a small village. He said he was driving up the mountain. He was further yes. up and up, and everything yes. everything was isolated. And he told them, he told me that the best advice he was giving to by Jerome Allen, who was his teammate at the time.
I remember
that he has to forget everything what happened in the US and see this as his home. So how much of that was that in your mentality, or if not, who helped you to understand that this is a new path, a new experience for you?
Yes, as you said, I believe coming for American players is way more difficult. The fact that the most of them don't have the chance even to get back, even for the 2 days off, to go back at home. Italy, Greece, it's one flight, it's 1:45 flight. It was easy for me. I remember my first year that I mentioned how I was homesick and everything. I was home at least 3-4 times during the season. So I believe it's a complete different thing. The fact that even having a day and a half off, that you can go back home and just see a couple of friends, see your parents, see your girlfriend maybe or something. So this is different. But the fact that I believe I remember myself I wanted to learn how to speak Italian. And it just came from inside that I want to feel more engaged and more that I'm at home, trying to speak their language. And that I have to say that Matteo Soragna and Marco Mortende, my 2 teammates in Treviso, they were the two guys that I never had a lesson in Italian, never. Speaking with them every day, but I was really, sometimes I believe they wanted to catch me out, because I was asking them how do you say this, how you say this, why this word, why this, why that. It was incredible. But even in the end of my first year already, I could communicate, I could understand basically everything. And that was a big change of how make me feel too. The fact that I could understand, as you mentioned, the culture of people, how to do the things. And it's very important. And it's something that I was speaking with in the end of my career with some of my teammates, foreigners or Americans, that it's very important, the young guys, and now whoever is watching this, is try not to put a pause on your life. That, when I get back home, I do my after my career, I will live again. Try to embrace all this experience that you're having right now. Try to not to feel strangers or foreigners in a country. Okay, of course, you are foreigner, you are an American, you play in Greece or in Lithuania. But it's very important for guys to feel more comfortable on the court, to feel also comfortable off the court. It's something that is combined, because feelings of players, of athletes, we many times, or the most of the times, we take with us on the court. Mm-hmm. And when you feel more engaged with the culture, more connected, I think it can do great. It can do great on the basketball court, and it can help you in your basketball career. This is something important. Now, speaking, because I would like also to mention that for me, Italy was always is like my second country, and I will always say, because that was the first country that I lived abroad. I lived in 5-6 different ones, but then in CSKA I had Ettore Messina, and the whole, basically the most of the coaching staff were Italians. It was Claudio Cripa. Then I went in Siena, and for 3 years again I was in Italy, and then I had Adrian Tricheri. I had Niccolò Meli, that was one of my favorite teammates of all time, and he was a main reason why I got to speak Italian. And I believe I had another step on my Italian languages. Sandro Beccardino, that he was my trainer, the trainer I had in many different teams, also in Kazan, in Greek national team for a summer, in Bamberg and Siena. So Italy for me, it's special. As I said, I feel it is my second country. And actually, one of my 4 boys, the first one, was born in Italy, in Siena. Mm-hmm. So, Italy for me will always be in my heart.
Special place, yeah. As you say, with the languages, to completely absorb yourself in the culture, you absolutely have to make an effort, at least, to learn the language. Because if you make an effort, you always get the respect from the other culture that right. He is actually trying to learn. And I remember they told me that when Trajan first got to CSKA, that he was going around with a notepad and writing down certain, words or certain sentences just to remember better. And the same thing would happen to me as well. I didn't know Russian when I came, but they talked to me, the doctors talked to me in Russian. I had to, they made jokes of me because my Russian sucked. I didn't know anything, but
yes,
at the end, making jokes and learning from these experiences, you grow, you learn, you understand, and then all of a sudden you understand the culture. You are more in the family. You're more inside, right. and like you said, the off court carries over onto the on court, onto the court. Absolutely. Right. And if you feel comfortable in your environment and you feel like you're part of the family, embracing, like you said, the whole culture and the life in the moment, and not thinking about the past or the future or other place, grass is greener on the other side, the classic, it's like living in the moment in that environment, I think, is the key. And as we are talking about cultures, and we're talking about, you mentioned CSKA as well, and for me, CSKA is also like a home. Let's talk about this transition period of how, in particular, about role and playing time, because before that you had twice as many. I wrote down the minutes actually. From
Yes.
33 minutes, it went down to 15 minutes a game. And with all, like, this, the role acceptance takes character. It's a different mindset. It's a different approach on a huge roster with everybody who can start, basically. How did you, or if you struggle to adjust, I don't know if you did or not, if you struggle to adjust to this, to the shrinking of playing time, who helped you to go through this struggle at first, and then how did you adapt to the new role on a bigger team?
Yeah, that's great topic that you open up right now. I was always saying, Benas, that for me, CSKA was my university. I was calling it this way, that I went there when I was 24, and as you mentioned, I was 24, but I had already did, let's say, good things in my career. Being European champion and vice world champion with the Greek national team, and I was the leader of the team both in Nike and one of the leaders in Treviso. That we won the Italian league, and we had a couple of great years. And when you are 24, you feel that you can conquer the world. Let's put this way, that I will go there and I will do the same thing in CSKA. And so when I went there, and I really realized what be around champions, players of a very, very high level of basketball IQ, work ethic, personality, with a great coach, and having very big goals as a team. You know very well what means to play for CSKA, and you have a very big responsibility and a very big pressure to achieve your goals. So for me, mention about the role, even that, let's say I didn't have, let's say, such a big role my 2 years in CSKA, except my second year when JR, I'm sure he will remember this, and also Trayson Langton, that JR was down for 2-3 months because he had a big injury early in the season, and I took over basically his role, and I did very well. And I think there where I got the maximum respect of my teammates, and that he was ready, the team needed, and that was an important period of the team back in 2008-09. But in general, all in all, is that my 2 years there, then, as I think, helped me so much throughout my whole career. The experience I got, what means to be in a team with high pressure, and how to live with this. Personal moments, being around all these guys, before Final Fours, all these big games, during games, is something I will never forget. And I will always say this, that even that, let's say, I was expecting to do more in chess. For me, it was a very, very important chapter of my life, and it helped me very much for the continuation of my career. And talking about the acceptance of the role, that honestly for me was always about winning. I know sometimes, it's natural that a human person, a person wants to, first of all, what he sees is himself. He wants to do good, to perform good and everything. But I think this helped me a lot. This experience helped me a lot to understand that it's very important when the team is winning and you are a part of it, bigger or smaller, it will help you in your career. So I think I found a way to help the team as much as possible as I could. And as I mentioned, all this experience, family helped me a lot until, some months ago that I finished my career.
And that's one thing I appreciate you open up about, because the struggles are not easy to talk about, and that's where growth happens, in the challenges, the growth happens. And you are, you achieved a lot throughout your career. You have multiple championships, but to stay humble and to understand, put everything into perspective, it takes also somebody like your family to have a support system around you. But when you encountered throughout your career, I'm sure, and without mentioning any names, without talking about specifics, when you encounter players who don't accept it, who struggle to understand, how did you approach them? Did you let the team dynamics take care of it, or did you have like one-on-one talks with the guys to help them understand the situation? Because there's guys who have also the same talent, they have the high achieving and ego, but certain ego is necessary to succeed. But how did you approach this situation when there was
Absolutely.
conflict within the team?
Yes, especially let's say in the second stage of my career, that I was even, let's say I was older and more experienced and already have, many years under my belt. For sure, I was always trying to help. I had it naturally, I always care about my teammates. I always trying to help them, to try to reach them and make them understand all this, all what they were facing through. I faced in the past before then. You know what I mean? It was something. It's something natural. So yeah, I'm one of these. I was one of these guys in the team that I was always trying to help the younger guys to understand. Coaches' decisions. See the big season is very long. You will have up and downs. It's very important to stay patient, to stay in course. Do your job every day. Of course, the feelings can make you change even your work ethic. This coach doesn't use me a lot, or he doesn't use me the right way. You can always have an excuse, and that's the bottom line. There is no job in the world, not only basketball. There is no job in the world that you cannot find excuse to say I cannot. It's not my fault.
Mm-hmm.
And basketball is so many little details, yet you can always say it's not my fault. It's so complex. It's a team sport. It's 5 guys in, 7 at least that they are sitting on the bench dressed. Coach, assistant coach, second assistant coach, a lot of things, trainer. You can blame anyone, but in the end of the day, I was always telling them that you need to do, trying to control the things that give the 100% that you can give from your side. Try to get better, be patient, and at least how I was looking at, good things will happen. And that was from my personal, let's say, journey. There were many moments that, I was even doubting myself that why I do that, why I don't play good, why. But when you love this so much, and when you are always constantly trying to find a solution, be humble, and first of all, look yourself in the mirror, good things will happen. That's the messages that I was trying to give all younger guys.
Yeah, it's in the moment they don't realize it. They lack perspective, they lack reflection, because you through experiences you can reflect on certain challenges that you had, but you also have to be honest to yourself in those situations to be to take your personality down. It's like, yeah, I did make a mistake back then, and I have to learn from it. I have to grow. So it does take some your own reflection, but also people like you, like yourself, like a mentorship around them to guide them a little bit. Like you had also at Ajax when you were 17. It's a constant group dynamic, and like you said, you can blame in basketball because it's such a complex game, complex
Yes.
reasons. You can always find some excuse, and there's always this battle. I saw it on both sides between coaches and players, and then you also try to justify. You can justify it. You can make it more like you can always find a justification for your action, So it takes honesty, I believe.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
let's talk about a little bit throughout your career when you are preparing for the game, and then down bringing yourself back down again after the game. What did you think was essential for you as a player to be ready for the game? to go through, whether it's a routine or something. I don't know if you were superstitious or not, but some players are.
Yes.
But certain things that you absolutely had to do to feel to be successful, and certain things after the game that you did also to calm yourself down again.
Yes. First of all, Benas, I believe that everybody's different. So what I will just share what I was doing doesn't mean that necessarily is the way, to be successful or whatever. At least that's what I was doing, and that's how I was feeling more comfortable. Week in and week out, I was preparing myself. So for sure, it's a complete different thing when you are at home and when you're on the road. I believe when you're on the road, only the fact that when you jump in the plane and you have the road trip to go play with a team, you put yourself already in. I go there to do my job. I will have my dinner with the team, then I will watch a movie or a game, and I will fall asleep and prepare myself the next day for the game and everything. I believe at home can be a little bit more complicated. If you have family, if I don't know, many guys that have friends in town, from abroad, and this can make the things, as I said, a little bit more complicated. So at least in my experience, and I'm blessed that I have a wife, and my family was always understanding my program, and so my day, we're still making fun with this about this with my wife, is that the game day I was a little bit different. First of all, I wasn't talking, she was, and she knew that she wouldn't mention with me, I don't know, even stuff for whatever, for family or something that we had to do the next day. No, the game day, I knew I would wake up, I would take my breakfast, go for the shoot around, then come back. Depends. Okay, some teams we stay in a hotel in a day use, as we used to say it, or in some other teams, even Euroleague teams, I was coming back at home. The most of the players prefer, especially the family men, prefer to be in a hotel in a game day, because they could sleep, they could take their lunch and sleep without any, concerns, or maybe a child might be a little noisy or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I was feeling very comfortable also at home. I remember my 4 years in Bamberg, we never stay in a hotel in a game day, and it was let's say great years of my career, and I was feeling great about this. So it's very important, in my opinion, to have a routine, and I wanted to finish saying that you need to have a routine. You need to have you need to eat in the right way and do the things that you feel comfortable. As I mentioned in the beginning, some other guy maybe feels more comfortable to do it in a different way, but it's very important to have a routine. But I cannot see it differently, that you need to be focused all day long. You cannot switch on the light 30 minutes before the game. At least that's how I was looking at Venice. I was from game day, how you analyze the games, the opponents. Now the Euroleague calendar, it's a little bit different compared even with 3-4 years ago, but I was always very focused all game day. And to finish, sorry, it was a long answer, that after the game, my routine was I wanted to have a dinner. I wanted to have a dinner, maybe to drink one beer or one glass or 2 glasses of wine with my wife. That was my routine, that after game, no matter if it was a win or loss, that in order, to get out of my system the game, the most of the time I was still thinking about the game and about what I did well, what I did wrong, mostly what I did wrong, and especially, as after a loss. But my routine after the most of the games was we had a dinner and trying to switch off a little bit.
Decompress. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing to understand after the game, how bad or how good it was, that life continues after that. Because
Yes.
in the basketball world, or let's say in the professional sports world, we live in a bubble, and it's a very a very constrained bubble with lots of dynamics depending on the team. One person comes in, it changes the whole dynamics, and then after especially after bad games, it's in your head for a long time. So to switch it off, it takes sometimes a little bit of a glass of wine or a good conversation, and just to calm your mind a little bit and to move on, because life
Yes.
doesn't stop because of that. Life, it's still, it's a small part, the win, the game. Although for us it has a huge, it's a heavy part of our lives. But at the end of the day, once it's over, it's over. And
Yes.
to have the mindset to really learn from it, check, and move on.
And that's and that's where exactly experience comes. I remember until I was, let's say, maybe 27, 26, 27, every win is it's incredible, everything is great, and every loss is like a funeral, like we used to say, is that it's a disaster. And it's not like that. I
Yeah.
remember I had a David Blood used to say that. I remember very well. Say, guys, when the team was struggling, and my 2 years with him, I remember, was a couple of times, he used to say this: the things, when you lose consecutive games, the things are never as bad as they look. But also, when you win consecutive games, the things are not as great as you think they are. And thinking about it, it's so many little things that can shape a result of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be lucky and David also used to say another thing: in the end of the season, that you will play 78, the amount of you're going to lose with a buzzer beater, or with one rebound, or one tip dunk, or whatever, as many games you will win like that, many losses you will have like that. And it's something that stayed in my mind. Things that, in order, and what is this about? That you need to be patient, you need to be stable. Of course, feelings come into this, and we know very well that the result of a game, about management, about changes of coaches, and all this in European basketball is a reality. This is fact. But I think you need to analyze the game. You need to, as a coach, then the coaching staff need to present it to the players. But life, as you said, moves on, and you need to get better. You need to understand what you did wrong, and stick to the process, and good things will happen. All these are necessary steps in order to have a successful season, I believe.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to, I thought about when you also said, the highs and the lows, and you win. If you lose, it's a tragedy. And you played on some big teams in your career, and I was fortunate enough to experience some of that. But it's also, how do you find the joy? Because there's situations where when you win, it's a relief that you won. When you
Yes,
lose, it's a complete disaster. So there's has to be some joy somewhere. So
that's a great question.
how do you find the joy in those situations where it's more of a relief, and there's no celebration of winning each game, because it's just another game that you were supposed to win. So where did you find the joy?
That's a great question, and a great, let's say, you put it in the perfect way. Um, People that watch this need to understand that 10, 12 years ago, the best clubs of Europe, again, was CSKA, Barca, Madrid, Olympiacos, Panathinaikos, Maccabi, right? That was the teams. Fenerbahce was not still one of the best, but all these teams. So in 9 months, they were losing 6, 7 games. That was it. It was the old system of Euroleague system. It was, let's say, every loss was a huge headline,
Hmm.
huge though. And it was numerous meetings and video analyzing and everything. And you said perfectly. And again, I will say experience helped me about this. So when you were winning, we weren't even celebrating. And I said, what is going on here? So we win and we don't celebrate. We lose and we feel uh, terrible. So you need to find again this balance, and you need to understand that you cannot take it for granted. The fact that you are a great team with a great budget doesn't mean necessarily that it's an automatic win or an automatic championship. You need to celebrate. You need to live the moment. long journey in order to put yourself in position to win this title or to go to the Final Four. And I believe, again, experience helps about enjoying this moment and not take it for granted. But again, I would say that it's so much better for an athlete, even for a coach, I believe, to be a kind of Cinderella story, you know, come out of nowhere. Nobody believes in you. Nobody thought that you would make it. And when you finally do it, the feelings there is something incredible. But again, I have huge amount of respect to these teams that from day one, they are, you know, they are built to do it. And 300 days later, they achieve it with all the pressure of the world, with all media talking about, okay, they will be the champions. They are people that they dedicate themselves for 10 months in order to arrive at this moment. And that's what I want to finish, that you cannot take it for granted. It's a very difficult journey. The fact that they have a full roster doesn't mean that it was necessarily easy to do it.
Yes, it's on paper is one thing, but it's essentially what my conclusion is: if as a player, if you experience that and you can't handle this 10 months of pressure, and you rather you enjoy more playing for Cinderella and win 1 out of 10 seasons, maybe, then you're not made for the highest level. Because because for the highest level, you have to approach the mentality that this is what it's going to be like. The pressure will be there for 10 months, 10 and a half months, or whatever the season goes for whatever league. And it will be moments of frustration, a lot more frustration and less joy. But at the end, when you, like you said, when you do achieve it and you make those final steps, and you had a whole process of 10 months to go through the ups and downs, the relief and the joy at the end, it's compounding. Everything that you missed out over the season, it's compounding, and then the release comes. So I think that essentially what I'm saying, if the player doesn't understand, doesn't embrace the situation, then he's not made for that level.
Yes, you put it in a great way again, and that's why, again, for me, CSKA was my university.
It was my military. It was your university.
That's why I always saying how I was that. For me, you know, after, you know, being there, and it's a great family and it's a great club. Really, I have huge amount of respect for all the people, and it's so nice to see them. They are still basically all the same as Andrei Batu. From the office, and you know, sorry, now I forgot his name. A photographer, Michael, right?
Misha,
exactly. So people, or Nikolai, the press officer, people that they are there every day. They are a family. But when you play in this team, you know, it's not necessarily always fun, because you know that it's a very, very high level of a club that has high goals. So, and I want to mention this, that after my 2 years there, wherever I was feeling pressure, that, you know, I had teammates that said, "Oh man, this is so much stressful, and so we don't enjoy as much," you know. Say, you don't enjoy here, you don't enjoy. Maybe you have to go play for the red and blue team to understand what pressure means. That when you have to win every single game for 10 months, can make it not as, you know, it's something that, you know, it can, of course, now the calendar is different than us. Okay. It's the 34 regular season.
Yes.
It's a little bit different. Now the first seed will have, I don't know, 25-9 or something like this. They will have losses. They will have up and downs. That's what the last 3-4 years showed us in Euroleague. But 10-15 years ago was a little bit different.
One last question about the player part before we go and talk a little bit about your retirement, the process of retirement. But you saw a lot of scout reports in your days, and coaches like to overdo it. So tell me in one good fashion, what's too much? Where is the line? Because you've probably seen some really good ones and some really like overly repeating the details that are probably not necessary, and you can, with high level players, you can correct them during the game. But where do you draw the line? What's too much?
Again, again, I will have to, but it's a lot dependent with the calendar. So when we had 20 games to reach the Final Four overall, it was the old calendar with only 10 regular season games and top 16 and quarterfinal playoffs and Final Four. It was 21 games. You were winning the EuroLeague. Every game was final, and every game, how was scouted and how was presented to the player was let's say with the deep analysis of how everything had to be done. I believe with this calendar, I was very comfortable with this, to be honest. I was never felt overwhelmed with information. Every added information, it was helping me. And especially, in my opinion, especially about defense, you know, how you can react in a certain area. And again, experience matters, that, you know, you are more accustomed of how, you know, you need to operate and how to do all this on the court, to execute this on the court is something that helps you. I believe now, Benas, the last years, you cannot do this. You need to have very simple, you know, you play every 2 days, you travel so much, you play the high level team now. And okay, ACB is the most amount of games from Madrid and Barca, but I believe you need to have a solid basis, that you know that this is the things that we do every day. And you need to be able, as a coaching staff, in my opinion, this is my opinion, and when I was getting this information from my coaches, that just give me a couple of tips of offense and defense, how to be able to perform tonight. Because when you play so many games, you will think more, actually play the game. And I believe also this has to do also with that the game changed then. 10, 12 years ago, the game wasn't as quick. You didn't react. You didn't have to react as fast as now. So I believe that this has to do also with the game itself.
The speed of the game.
The speed of the game. This again is my personal opinion, that now the last years of my career, that you don't need so much information. You don't need you need to keep it simple, trying to give certain tips to players. And again, as a coach, you understand what kind of group you have. You have a group that can understand the things easier. You know, the basketball IQ of the group. This is very important things in order to make your team to perform better.
Yes. I agree. You have to, as a coach, you have to have a feel for the dynamic in the group and the level of competence at that stage.
Exactly.
So to touch and to talk about your retirement, I know we're already getting close to 1 hour, and I appreciate your time, your patience. It's a lot of lessons to take.
It's fun for me.
It's a lot of lessons to take away. So I'm trying to have the correct substance for the listeners to take something away, because of your experiences. I'm sure there was a lot of rich experiences in your mind, in your soul, and it was difficult to let go of finding the time to when to let go of your career. So how was it more difficult to leave something behind and knowing that it's finished, or was there more fear of what's going to be next in terms of like your next steps as a professional after basketball? Where was the bigger the bigger challenge, let's say, from either side?
My main concern about the decision for my retirement was I wanted to make sure that was it. It's so simple, you know. So I will go back a little bit, and I would like to share this, that 2019 it was when I finished from Bamberg, and it was the first thing that I started to think about it a little bit. That maybe it's the time, you know, I was already 14 years abroad, you know, my family was getting bigger. I started to have some thoughts on my mind. And then when I had the honor and the opportunity to go to with San Antonio as a guest coach, and I experienced this. I remember very well, Benes, that I was sitting in the bench in Las Vegas as a guest coach, that you are not a player. And I was sitting there, I sit and I saw the players playing. I say, wait, now me, I will not gonna play basketball again. No way. Really, it was so simple. I was thinking for some days, and I was a free agent. I didn't have a team, and I was watching that. I said, no, I'm not ready to do it. So when I had this personal experience, I understood that when I will make up my mind, I have to be 100% sure. And to be honest with you, I did it. So I took a decision. Now I ended up finishing my career 2 years later. A lot of things happened in these 2 years that, I went in Badalona. It was, at the time for me, it was a great decision because I was feeling great to play in a lot of things changed with the life of family in Spain, and we ended up moving back in Greece. My wife was pregnant at the fourth, and the pandemic started. So it's all this a complex, and it came the opportunity to finish my career where I started, and I feel blessed about this also, that the circle was finished, from Ike, and again back to Ike after 21 years. So I knew last year, the last months of my career, I made up my mind that this is it, Nikos. And now that it's, the season started and I'm watching basketball, and because I love basketball and I love to watch basketball, I don't feel, you remember I told you about Las Vegas that I was watching. I have already been in 3 different games physically, not only watching from TV, here in Thessaloniki to watch game. And I didn't feel the same way. I felt that I love basketball. I love to watch it, but what I have done it. I had a career, good, bad, whatever. I had a long journey, but this is it, and that's why I believe it's very important for any guys that they are watching this and they are maybe towards the last stage of the career to be 100% sure that that this is it for them, because me as a person, it's 2 things also I would like to share. One, I wouldn't like to make this move to come back. I've seen a lot of guys. I respect this. It's something that it come from within everybody. It's a will that I have to get back on the court. First of all, Michael Jordan came back to play. Okay? If the god of basketball came back to play, okay. But it's something that I didn't want to do it, let's say. And second, it was very important. Okay, now it's sorry, is now the little one. It was very important for me. It was very important for me, so that I knew that was it. I gave everything to the game, and now let's think what is next. I didn't want to make also something like that. I know maybe this is not the best way to do the things. I know the most of the persons, I understand this, they say that during my career during their careers they are already made up their mind what is next. For me is more I was focused 100% what I was doing. I have some thoughts. I will stay for sure in the game. Just I want to make sure what is best for me and best family. For sure I will stay with one way or another. I will stay with basketball because this is my life except my family. But after so many years of have to do to have a program and a schedule, and living so many years abroad, having 11-month season with national team for over 15 years because I had my national team, I just want to do the simple stuff, is to simple things. Is that simple, being able to drive to my kids' school or practice, have a weekend off that I never had any weekends off for 20 plus years. And it's something that I enjoy now. Again, basketball, I love basketball. I know that I will be around basketball soon. But it's also time just to be an ordinary person with no, with weekends and with not all this schedule that was so difficult at times and so demanding.
Yeah, you were comfortable closing the door. You came to the point where you were comfortable not looking through the door a little bit and sneaking in, but you finally closed it, and now you left it behind. And the identity changes to a certain extent, because as a player, for over 20 years, there's only one thing you knew, to be how to be a player, and then obviously when family arrived, you learned how to be a family man. But Potsu said the same thing. He enjoys just being an ordinary person. Everybody,
Yes,
he goes into office, and they all have casual clothes and
yes, yes,
sweatshirts, and he enjoys the opposite, because he was wearing
yes,
sweatshirts and then sports clothes the whole time. So he
yes,
enjoys
yes,
dressing up and then and looking
yes,
looking like he's going to the office. So I think, again, embracing the new life, embracing the new challenges that are ahead, and living a new identity and learning more about yourself, I think is the key.
yes, yes.
Did you experience a little bit of identity change when you finally stopped, and you had some vacation time, you had some weekends, did you feel like
Yes.
something strange is going on, or was it just like, I'm good, finished?
Honestly, I don't feel it. I have to be honest, and it's not that now I will switch off the iPad and I will go to my wife, and I will say no, I couldn't admit it. Is that I was blessed. I look it this way, Benas, that I was blessed to have a very long journey. I never thought it would be like that. I started as a young kid in love with basketball.
Mm,
You know, I'm more appreciative, more. I feel really blessed. Again, I repeat myself of all the experiences I had. All the people I met. Okay, success is one thing, titles, contracts, but the fact that all this happened with meeting so many new people and working with people that I admire and respect, and the fact, and on top of this, and most importantly, having the chance to do all this with the family that I created, with my wife and my 4 children, is something that I cannot put it in words. Uh, and the fact that, as I said, it's very important of how I look, how I feel, that I don't feel that, oh man, I have regrets. I had to do this. I had to do that. Of course, I did also. I did things that I couldn't. Let's say, I would say that. I would like also to be able to do this. Let's say in my career. But
mm,
I know that I give everything I had. So I
mm.
don't have this kind of feelings. I don't feel
You're in
that I had
peace.
to do this,
You're in
because
peace.
even when I was not playing good, because I knew I was dedicated, dedicated 100%. Even when I was struggling, even when I wasn't playing, I had 0 for 10 or in games, and I was playing terrible. I knew that I was dedicated and I was doing everything I could in order to perform. So when I finish all this journey, I don't have regrets.
Yes.
I knew that as
Yes.
a person, as a human being, I try to do the maximum. So now I'm in peace, going in a stage of my career that I can give myself, to my kids now that I'm here. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay.
And
Yeah, you
and
applied yourself fully. You applied yourself fully, and you're in peace. Um,
yes,
I
sorry, Bernard. The last thing is that also I had in my mind that I wanted, when I finished, that I was able to. I'm not saying to be the best player, of course. I don't know how many times I was the best player of my teams, but I want to be able to perform, to
Yeah.
play 15, 20 minutes. And I think it was very important. I never liked this. Okay, he's the 12th player as a veteran, as a old great player. I couldn't function like that, and
Mm,
I had it on my mind. When I finished, I know that I will play 15 minutes, 17 minutes, be able, one of them, not the old guy that he's here because he's a good mentor or he's a good, I don't know, a good veteran.
yes.
I
Yes. Yes.
always wanted to be considered, and as a guy that I will practice every day, because there are a lot of veterans that don't practice a lot and I'm fine with it, but it wasn't fine with me. So
Yeah.
that's another
Yeah.
thing I want to share.
That's very good. It's very useful for your perspective, because like you said, also it's your perspective, and it doesn't mean it's for
Yes,
somebody else it's the same. So some other players are
definitely.
comfortable with other roles. But I heard your son is cursing at me, so I'll
With his own, he's 20
yeah,
months, he's the little one. So,
yeah.
it's very funny this period about saying his words.
But I wanted to finish up with the typical Final Four. So Final Four quick, because Final Fours, it's every European basketball players and coaches dream to play in a Final Four. And I wanted to finish off with Final Four questions, quick hitters, as I
Of
also like
course.
to call it. So the first one would be the biggest, most single important advice you would give to your younger self.
I'm sorry, but can you repeat, because the line went off a little bit? The
Yes,
biggest?
the biggest, most single important advice you would give to your younger self.
Uh, just live the moment. That's in my opinion, that's the better advice. Just live the moment, live the present.
When do you know you're pushing yourself too hard?
Uh, Great. I think um, when you are not feel comfortable, when you are nervous too much, because you will have nerves, you will have a kind of reaction. But when you feel that you are not yourself, it's time to understand, to try to search what is going on. And it's very possible that it might be this. Pushing yourself too much is might push even mentally yourself, not only maybe physically, I don't know, run 2 hours more than anybody else, but even mentally, that I need to do better. Sometimes when you push yourself too much and you react, you need to try to find solutions.
When do you know you're pushing yourself not hard enough?
uh, it's difficult for me to answer this question, but yes, again, it's sometimes when you play bad and you try to find solutions. One of them might be, you are not shooting as much extra, or I don't know, you need to get back on the treadmill, and to get back even in more shape. I think it's more about understanding yourself of, okay, especially this after a certain age when you are more experienced. But
Yep.
I was struggling very well. It was my third year in Bamberg, and it was with my spot up shooting. And just there is no miracles. Shoot more, shoot extra. You are comfortable of what you did the first 2 years in Bamberg.
One skill outside of basketball that you wish you had.
One skill outside of basketball, huh? Skill that exists, or an imaginary skill, that because with my children, we say, I wish we could have transportation, that you push the button and you're in the other.
That
skill. I don't know, man. Really, it's I cannot say something that outside of basketball. I would say maybe the skill is
that's the toughest question I could ask.
Yeah. Sorry, it made me that I don't know exactly what to answer you. So toughest skill, skill I would like to have. Maybe I will say this, that sometimes try not to to find a way. I'm always honest, always straight, always say the thing that sometimes this is not the greatest skill you can have. I didn't answer exactly that. sometimes, when try to find a solution and in order to do something, they dissolve the court. And, sometimes this is me. I cannot function in a different way. I'm straight, I'm honest. I cannot, otherwise I don't feel good with myself. So I don't have the skill to how to find a solution of, of being out of my character.
Political correctness.
Of not even political correctness. I would say, okay, this sometimes, you will answer politically correct, but how you handle the things in a problem. When there is a problem, I will be straight, because that's how. And sometimes you lose from this.
Yes. You're
sorry,
right.
That was too long. Sorry, but
it's good. It's good.
I had to find a real one. It's something that is me, and this is something that I don't have. I don't have this skill.
It's for some situations is helpful, but mostly I think that your way is the right way. To say straight up, and there's no second guessing. There's no reading between the lines. There's no what did he mean? What is? I'm like this too. I'm honest, and sometimes you feel like I should have not lied, but I shouldn't have said the whole truth, because people tell me, like, look, they ask me a question, or they tell me don't do this and this and that situation, and I don't feel comfortable in that situation if I don't say what I feel, because I'm a very intuitive person. Intuition, like honesty is for me one of the highest values that a person has to have. If there's no honesty and I don't feel it from the other person, there's no trust. No trust, there's no relationship. No relationship, there's no life.
That's exactly, you said it perfectly. That's exactly what I want to say. That's exactly what I meant to be. You say not lie, but maybe don't say the whole truth. That's the thing that I keep. That, but again, this is sometimes you cannot change yourself. This is you. It's difficult to change what you really make you feel comfortable and natural.
Yes, but. Nikos, we don't have to change. We staying true to ourselves is the key. And Nikos, I don't want to take up more of your time. I appreciate you. I appreciate this that you came on and agreed to talk. I'm very I'm very hopeful, and I understand. I know that this will help a lot of players, a lot of next generation players. So thanks for your time. Thanks for being honest and humble as always. And I hope to see you soon, sometime in Athens, or maybe on the road somewhere, so we can talk a little bit more.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me, Benas. It was fun for me to talk more than an hour and talk about basketball. That, as you know, this is my life. I hope this helps a little bit of the younger generations, and I just wish them the best. Whoever is watching this, just wish them best of luck for this season, a healthy season, full of success, and just have fun on the court.
Bravo.
Thank you very much.
Ευχαριστώ,
Thank you very much. Παρακαλώ. Have a nice day. Thank you very much, Benas. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Bye bye.